Here's a big trap. There's agencies out there that are going to have you pay just to post. It's stuff that people don't care about. Your content's not going to show up in other people's feeds. There is no one big magic lever that you pull. It's multiple levers you pull. One of my clients, he got emotional and actually teared up. He was like, I've been able to do things with my wife and my kids that I never dreamed of.
Welcome, everybody. I want to tell you why I'm genuinely excited about today's guest because I've met a lot of people in this space who are really good at one thing, sales or marketing or ops. They go deep on that one thing, and that's their whole angle. Spencer is not that person. I honestly don't think I've met anyone with more well rounded ground level knowledge in the full arch space than Spencer. We're talking marketing, case acceptance, operations, team building, vendor relationships, patient experience. And he's not just theorizing about any of it. He helped build one of the largest dental implant specific marketing and case acceptance organizations in the country at the time and pioneered programs that have become industry standards. He spent over a decade in some of the most successful full arch practices in the nation. The only thing Spencer can't do really is place the implant. And honestly, there isn't a person I would credit more to my own knowledge in the space than him. What I love about Spencer is that he's genuinely nice, a genuinely helpful human being, something I feel like we're really running pretty low on these days. And today we're getting into the real stuff, how to stand out when corporate centers are moving into your market, what it actually takes to grow a full arch practice, and what most successful practices are doing that doctors really just haven't figured out yet. Spencer, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much, Chelsea. It is such a pleasure to be here. You're just one of my favorite people out there too. Like, I just think you're genuine and awesome. And just so you know too, I'll say I almost became a dentist. I don't know if you know that, but
No, I
I was doing
don't.
pre-dent. I shouted at the dentist. He did a tooth extraction. I almost passed out and I tapped out. I was like, I'm not doing that. And so instead I went and did marketing for dentists and it came full circle.
That's amazing. You learn something new every day. That's awesome. I'm so excited for this conversation because I know you personally. And I meant that in my intro when I said that I haven't learned more from anyone in this space than you. And that just continues to be the case day after day. I really genuinely appreciate your well rounded knowledge. Like I said, I've never met anyone that can see the whole arch business as holistically as you can. And that's one of the reasons why I love learning from you. And that's one of the reasons why you're so successful with practices, because I've always known this, and I know you know this. It's a whole system. It's not any one part that someone can nail and be successful in full arch. So, speaking of which, you told me about this case study the other day. I think it's absolutely incredible. Your journey with Dr. Burns in 2024, he did 250K in implant revenue, but couldn't scale despite working with two former agencies. In 2025, he did one implant revenue specifically. What did you find? What did you change? And what specifically, which of those changes unlocked the most impact for Dr. Burns?
I want to actually add to that because it's even crazier when you know more of the backstory on Dr. Burns. He did sign up with two different marketing agencies, only got 3 or 4 cases over about a year and a half. The problem that he was facing is that he's in this little township in Northern Virginia of 3,000 people. His dental office is in a town of 3,000 people. I mean, think about it, that's wild. And the next nearest cities, he's got one 45 minutes north and one 30 minutes south. People rarely go from a higher population density location out to a country doctor for services. They go into the city for services, not out of the city for services. So that's what he was up against. And so everyone was running ads, all this stuff was happening, and he just wasn't being successful. Again, just to your point, there is no one big magic lever that you pull. It's multiple levers you pull to make sure when you're doing full arch or high ticket, it's a different ballgame. But if I did have to point to one thing that really unlocked it for him, it was building more authority in the marketplace. And so we really doubled down on looking at his brand and helping people. I mean, once he got him in the practice, they were good. They had a really good team. They knew how to convert. He's just really great with patients. TC's phenomenal, working with people. The problem was getting them to travel out to them. With full arch, one of the things out there is it's becoming more and more competitive. And so everybody's out there running ads saying, hey, I do dental implants. Look at my before and afters. Look, I can do this kind of work. Then they decide who they're trying to inside of that city. Like, who am I going to pick inside of the city? There's options, but I'm going to go travel an hour out of the city or 45 minutes out of the city to go see somebody when I have all these options locally. Like, we had to build a really good reason for them. And I'm just going to say this, like, all that awesome stuff you said, I really appreciate it. The truth is, I'm not a special person. I just had the privilege of peering into hundreds of offices. And like you're doing now, to peer into hundreds of offices, you start to see patterns of things that work and things that aren't working. And why is this person being successful versus that person? To learn those patterns. And from that, I found a framework that works. And when you follow, it's great. Pillar 3 out of this framework is all about authority. It's your brand authority. So some of the stuff that we did for Dr. Burns, this is kind of fun, just stuff that anybody can go and apply right now is first off is differentiation. Why the heck would I choose you? Why would I travel 45 minutes, 30 minutes, or even I have clients where people fly in regularly to them. Why would I choose you? Why would I fly into you versus just going to the person down the street from me? And the first thing there is your unique value proposition. What makes you different? And there's a lot of ways to create that, but something that for anybody that's listening, let's just have a quick conversation about what is not a UVP or unique value proposition. So please don't use this stuff. And this is what most people do use out there. Or if you hire somebody to throw up a website for you, this is usually what they're writing on the website is like general platitudes. And Chelsea, I know you deal with this a lot. You're one of the best copywriters I know. So you understand this. You do a great job of helping people put unique value proposition in place. What is not a good UVP is we really care a lot, or we'll treat you like family. Or another one is state of the art equipment. We use state of the art equipment. Like you'll go and you'll just be like, we really care. We have state of the art equipment. Choose us. And the thing about that is the end user, that patient, how did they assess? If we think of it like over here, you have the value of the money in their pocket, the way they perceive the value of the money. And over here, we have the value of the service or product that they're buying. And our goal here is to create it so the value they're perceiving of the product or service is much higher than the value of the money. That way they feel like they're getting a deal. They feel like, this is valuable to me. I want it. And they're only asking this amount of money. And we've all felt like that. We felt like we got a deal. We're like, oh man, this is so good. And then we all felt like we've gotten taken advantage of or it's overpriced. Why? Because the value of the money was here, but the value of that service or product was down here. So the whole job of all that we're doing here is to push this up and to do that better than anybody else out there.
Mhm.
If we can push that up, value perception, I call it an authority score, we can push that brand authority really high, then when you drop the dollar amount, they're like, this is a no brainer. And especially if they go and do other consults, they're going to compare and contrast you. And so our goal is to push that up. So how does a person assess we really care or state of the art equipment? What does state of the art equipment mean to that patient? State of the art. That's great. What does that even mean to me as a patient? Why do I care that you have state of the art equipment? Sounds expensive. Sounds like you're just charging me a lot of money. You know what I mean? It's not bad. It's just like, what do they really care about at the end? So if you can come out with differentiation that's more along the lines of something that's measurable, facts, place this many implants, teaches other doctors how to do it, has transformed this many smiles, or we really care. Maybe you have one of those local voting things and you won the region. You're the number one voted dentist in your area. That's a great way to show that people care because
Mhm.
it's not just you saying people care. We really care. It's like, actually, no, look at the proof that we care. We have something to back it up. Or state of the art, like we use this technology because this technology helps us place the implants in the best place in your jawbone that ensures it's anchored stronger. It should last longer. It's more likely to not fail. So our goal here is like a healthier, stronger implant that lasts longer. And the investment with us will go further than traditionally because of this state of the art equipment. Or if you were a user of the Yomi robot, you could say sometimes if somebody's freehanding that thing, they might punch through and hit a nerve. The Yomi robot ensures that we will never punch through and hit that nerve. We use this state of the art equipment that creates the safest way to accomplish that. And whether or not you use Yomi or not, I'm just saying these are ways that you can talk about your state of the art equipment in a way that brings value to the patient.
Yeah, a simple trick that I use on the copywriting side, which maybe is helpful to the audience. If I'm going to talk about a piece of equipment, for example, I can say the Yomi robot places implants with 99% accuracy X speed, which means for you faster healing. less time in the chair. So the devil here isn't the state of the art equipment. The devil is that we're having a hard time translating this equipment into a language that the consumer can understand when they're trying to piece together what's in it for them and the value that this practice provides. So really the goal here with UVP is making sure that consumers understand it.
Yeah, I love that. You summarized that so well. So here's a favorite story of mine. There was this beer company called Schlitz Beer, and you can go look it up. In the 1990s, they were like number 8 in sales in the nation. They hired this marketer to come in, and the marketer's like, "How do you make beer?" And they said, "Well, we take purified water, we take the hops, we make the beer." Right. And then the marketer's like, "Well, how does your competition make beer?" "Well, they take purified water and the hops and they make the beer." And then the marketer's like, "Well, nobody talks about it." So he rolled out these campaigns where he's like, "The reason why Schlitz beer tastes so crisp and great is because of this purified water that they use to make it." Guess what? Everybody used purified water to make the beer, but nobody talked about it. He talked about it. Schlitz became number 1 for over a decade in sales, and all based off of these campaigns. So the beautiful thing, sometimes when we talk about differentiation, is doctors feel like, I'm not different. I'm not doing anything different. I learned how to place implants. But one of the fastest and easiest things that you can do to differentiate yourself is follow the Schlitz example, come up with the doctor's, whatever your name is, Dr. Morrissey, the Morrissey protocol, the Morrissey method, or something like that, and say, this is my unique way of placing implants. And you put your name on it. It doesn't matter if the person down the street's following the same thing. You're just putting a name on it. It's the way you've chosen to do it. So it's your method, your model. This belongs to you now. This is the way that I'm going to do it. And then that's a fast and easy way to differentiate. Nobody talks about that. So when you start talking to a patient in marketing or in a consult, they come in, "Oh, I'm so glad you found us. I don't know if you know this, but Dr. Morrissey's so good at this, so fantastic. Patients love Dr. Morrissey. And I don't know if you know this, she's actually developed her own protocol. It's called the Morrissey protocol. It's her own unique way of doing these. And this is why her smiles look so good when she's done. They're healthy. They're beautiful. I'm really glad you found us." That's awesome. That's such a facet. You can't get a smile created, the Morrissey protocol or method, down the street. It's a quick, easy differentiation. And it doesn't matter if everybody else is doing it, because you're just talking about it and nobody else is talking about it. Nobody else put their name on it.
Yep.
So
So
there's a quick hack.
I'm gonna sum this up because I think there's a lot of really good stuff in here that people can do. That people who feel like they don't have anything that really differentiates them that they can do tomorrow. Number one, if they're talking about a family feel office, maybe a better way is to show local rewards or show reviews where people show that they really like them and they treated them like family. Or if you care about your patients, maybe the best way is to talk about your aftercare program and why you do aftercare and the corporate centers don't, for example. That is a way in which you care that is tangible and patients can understand. Maybe for technology, instead of saying state of the art technology, which doesn't mean anything, you can use technology and talk to patients about the technology you have and why that's valuable to them in terms of chair time or healing times, and maybe even why that technology has allowed you to do this procedure more affordably. So there, what is in it really, which means, so if you don't have to necessarily be an award-winning doctor who's placed a million implants, but you do have to translate to patients the value of what you do. And that value has to outweigh and outsize the price. And if
Mhm.
you can't do that, you will struggle to sell. Did I kind of sum that up pretty good?
Yeah, yeah. And then on top of that, if you come along and you start capturing before and after photos, smile reveals or testimonials in video, all of a sudden you now have differentiation. You sound and look unique, and you have proof of performance to back it up, including getting ratings and reviews online and making sure that you are maximizing the quantity. If you only have 20 reviews and your competition has 200, then that's going to hurt you. And so the goal is to back everything you're up, push that, to ask everybody, invite everybody to leave you that rating or review so you can maximize that. But it's a differentiation of social proof, right? And you put that together and it's a fast recipe. One final thing there I would say to add in is educational content. And I'm not talking about the generic stuff that you can buy from these different companies out there that create these generic videos that you can put on your website. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you educating, you creating a video where you're teaching and being the authority in your market. And as you build up that library, share it on your social posts, share it on your website, have people like Chelsea help you create those videos and they will put them into ads and distribute them out there. Then you come across as different. You look and sound different than everybody else. You have all this awesome social proof that backs that up. And then they see you teaching and the person who's teaching becomes the authority. So you put that recipe together and this is how you become the person who people are willing to travel to from a big city out to the small country doctor.
So, good doctor, good clinical skills, busy practice, but full arch never really takes off. What's usually going on beyond a lack of authority building? What else would you say might be at the center of that?
That's a great question. I mean, one thing is building the authority. Next to, in my framework, the first one's actually excellent clinical skills, clinical authority, and then operations, making sure you're running a sound operation, leading, holding your team accountable. It's not a sexy answer, Chelsea, but the number one reason why I see doctors fail in full arch is actually a mindset or leadership issue. And
Mm,
it's a matter of holding the team accountable because people like you would come in, we would throw up this excellent marketing, and then a doctor wouldn't close. The team wasn't following up. Leads weren't getting called. There wasn't follow through or follow up. They would do a consult and then nobody was following up after that. And people were just falling through the cracks, right? There was no training. There was no obligation to get training. Or even if there was training, it wasn't followed up on and mandated. Doctors would frequently not show up to the consults. And so if the doctor didn't make it a priority, then the team wouldn't make it a priority.
mm,
Or if the doctor abdicated the responsibility and said, hey, somebody else take on this responsibility and go grow this part of my practice for me. The doctors that really showed up and cared and were involved and met with their teams regularly, those were the doctors that had the most success. Would you say that's true from your
I would say that's absolutely true. Now, what does holding your team accountable look like on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? I'm sure there's structure in place that makes this a lot easier. When you see the highest performing practices, what meetings or components or spreadsheet, what do they have in place that separate them from the rest?
typically at a minimum, it's a weekly check-in meeting where they're going over metrics, they're looking at roles and responsibility, they're seeing what's going on and talking about it. Usually the highest performing ones, there is a daily huddle where there in the morning, it's a quick, hey, how are things going? What's going on with the pipeline? Any issues with it? So they can quickly identify problems. Doctor, no leads came in today. What happened? Oh, let me call the agency and find out.
Hmm.
Or what happened here? There's hardly anybody on the schedule. Have you been calling the leads? Like something
Hmm.
stopped and then you can see it and address it really quickly. Plus, it just holds the team accountable. I recommend a daily huddle. That's the
Hmm.
best thing. In absence of a daily huddle, it's record your daily metrics for the TC or the appointment center, record your metrics and then take a picture and text it to me by 9 o'clock in the morning. Yesterday's metrics I need delivered to me by the end of the day or by 9 the next morning. Second best thing you could do to hold your team accountable. Sometimes like in the dashboard where the leads are coming in, sometimes the team will tell you they're doing it. And then the marketing agency's like, are you calling your leads? They're all stacked up right here. That does happen because people get busy and stuff like that. So to hold your team accountable and make sure that everybody's being honest and doing it, I also recommend you have them open up the dashboard and just get a quick visual. Look, talk about it. What are the metrics? How many consults did we have yesterday? And then get a quick visual on it. And as you make it that priority and you're showing, hey, this is important, they'll show up, they'll do their jobs, and you'll be much more successful.
Hmm. Yeah, when I first launched the call center, I started to wonder why, when I said the goal was 90 dials per day, we were getting 90. But then I changed the goal to 120 and we were getting 120 without extending the hours of the day. And I will tell you that there is a point where there's diminishing returns. Like I can't set the goal at 300, but really what I learned is clarity around the KPI that's expected is the
Mm.
most important thing, right? So if instead of call the leads, it's 90 outbound dials today with an expectation to book 15 consults, per week, depending. you should know what your expectation is based on your marketing budget. And your marketing agency, if they're worth anything, should be able to tell you. But I think clarity, if you call your leads internally, and clarity for your treatment coordinator, so you actually know and they know if they're missing the mark. And then you feel like you have to micromanage the actual daily work slightly less because if they're getting 20 consults booked per week, your assumption is they're calling the leads, right? But if
Hmm.
you just say call the leads, it's going to be very difficult to assess whether they're doing their job or not, in my experience. And Spencer, someone like you comes into the practice as a consultant, you'll be able to establish, I'm assuming, establish benchmarks in every area of that business and watch those for them.
Hmm.
And that's one of the benefits of working with a consultant because I'm sure a lot of these doctors are like, you're kidding me. I've got to now manage this team as well and have more meetings. And they probably think that sounds pretty overwhelming. So that's probably one of the things that you help with, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah. But here's the cool thing, and the thing that I really love about like Full Arch, this high ticket stuff is that once you get into it and you grow it, and there can be some growing pains along the way or whatever, but once you get into there, the Full Arch docs that I know, they have more financial freedom, they have more time. They're able to take some time and do things. They obviously work hard, but one of my clients, I remember I was doing an interview like this and he got emotional and actually teared up. And he was like, I've been able to do things with my wife and my kids that I never dreamed of that Full Arch afforded me. He was just so grateful. He's like, before I felt kind of like I was on this treadmill. There's certainly some of that still there, but he's like, I've been able to like break out through the ceiling and do things that I never thought I would be able to do
Mm.
and give my kids certain stuff in the same, in actually fewer hours. And that's so cool. That's so cool to be able to set that up. I love calling these Full Arch patients and high ticket patients, they're
I love
freedom patients, like, because if we could get more of those, like it literally translates to more freedom in your life.
Yeah, I mean, for both the patient and the doctor. So, speaking of
Hmm.
that transition, I think that's a really interesting thing because I know a lot of GP practices that may listen to this are stuck wondering how they transition from a busy GP office logistically into a more full arch focused practice, even if it's not entirely full arch focused, but just having an implant center that is thriving within the practice. It sounds exciting, but it can get messy and feel daunting. What are the hurdles that maybe doctors don't see coming? Or on the flip side, what would you say is the smoothest way to make this transition? What hires do they need? What things would you put in place?
I mean, first off, it goes back to that initial team. So it's the appointment setter, which is the most overlooked. And frequently what docs do is they hire or they just tell their front desk to call the leads and answer all the phones and schedule all these people. One of the most important things to understand is that Full Arch patients are not your standard GP patients. It's like you switch from playing baseball to cricket. It's different. Like it really is different how you speak to them. And the average Full Arch patient hasn't been to a dentist in 7 to 10 years. It is a lot of anxiety and fear and nerves and fear of going to the dentist and just embarrassment and shame. That's a lot different of a person who's just like, oh, I just moved into this place and I need to find a new dentist to get my teeth cleaned because I've always gone to the dentist my entire life. That's a different mindset in person. And so how you speak to them and how you create trust is really important, again, to push that authority score, that value perception score high.
Mm.
Usually, if you have your front desk trying to call the leads, it doesn't go over very well. They're busy. This patient on the phone is potentially worth $50,000 or 40 to
Mhm.
$50,000 in your practice. The person at the front desk is like, I'm sorry, can I put you on hold really quick? I just need to check somebody in.
Oof.
Like, that's not going to
And
go
that
over
person,
well.
it was hard for them to even call, to get up the
Yeah.
nerve to call because they're so anxious. The second you give them a reason to, they're gone.
Yeah. Or even the doctors that are like, okay, I'm going to have this person call. Maybe they're even going to go call in the back office. That's fine. But then they don't give them enough time to call, enough follow up.
Mhm,
They're not doing it. What I've found is that if you're picking up the phone and dialing, it's about 500 leads equals one full time setter.
mhm,
And so if you work with somebody like you, Chelsea, that has a call center who can leverage software to speed up the amount of dialing that's happening and the team and speed to lead, speed to responding to that person. Also getting into the evenings and Saturdays, which are fantastic times to get a hold of people. That can often increase. And, I highly encourage people to look into that and to work with an agency that's calling leads because that can make a big difference as opposed to if you do have somebody calling in the office, you just got to make sure you're giving them enough time.
Mhm.
to think about it. So if you're averaging, you can do the math, if you're averaging 100 leads a month, then you can calculate how much of this person's time do I need to set aside. If you figure that 500 equals a full-time 40-hour a week person, and you can kind
Mhm.
of average that, probably going to be closer to a couple hours a day at 100 something.
Mhm.
So so that's really important. That's something that often gets overlooked. And as you grow your lead volume, just understand that. Unless you're working with somebody like you, and then it's awesome. You don't have to worry
Yeah.
about doing that.
One
You just scale it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. One thing I have learned in growing a call center is we've played around with call cadence and how many times do you call, text, what's too much? Because we track unsubscribes and any disgruntled patient and what's too little because that will impact your booking rate. Our call center, just our metrics, connection rates, booking rates exceed industry standards, but only after a lot of experimentation. This wasn't always the case, right? So what I've learned is the sweet spot, you have to call more than you think. And it's actually speed to lead is the biggest one. We call in under 20 seconds. Evenings and weekends are huge for connection rate, very important. Without evenings and weekends, we were maybe 30% in whole less profitable as a company. When we added evenings and weekends, everything shifted for us. And then the third thing is what cadence do you call? Almost all practices underdo it. They assume they're calling too much and they're actually not
Yeah, I'm
realizing they're
annoying
calling
this person.
little. Think they're annoying this person, but actually this person needs to be annoyed. One, it's in their best interest, but usually they're not even as annoyed as you think they are. They just haven't gotten to it yet. And
Most of them
remember,
are
they
grateful.
opted in. They're
By
grateful that you were so
Yeah, by
2
the
to
time
3.
you finally connect with them, they're like, "Oh, I'm glad you followed up with me."
Exactly, exactly. So we do 2 calls, first day, morning, evening, 2 second day, 2 the third day, and then it starts to kinda taper off, and they never come out of our funnel unless they've got treatment elsewhere. And we've played with that, but I think most practices are under delivering on that that's per 1 lead.
But most people don't have the capacity in the office to do that. It's really hard. Then they underdo it, and then they just don't maximize their results or growth that they want.
And that doesn't include the text touch points and the email touch points too. So it would be, that's just the calling volume. So yeah, I think dentists and practices are underestimating the amount that you need to dial to be successful. They're assuming if they get to the leads once per day, that's okay. And it's really
Yeah.
not okay because the speed to lead is impacted and the number of dials that they're making on any given lead is impacted. And, you paid 50 to $150 for that individual to be in your pipeline, depending on the area.
Yep.
So how much is that worth to you? I'd say that
Mhm.
50
Mhm.
to $150 is pretty valuable. You wanna make sure that
Yeah.
you don't just let them fizzle out in the pipeline.
That's so important.
Mhm.
The treatment coordinator, obviously very important one. In my experience, 250 to 300 some odd leads right in that frame, per one treatment coordinator. Just be understanding of their time, especially if you put your office manager in and you're like, oh, my office manager is my treatment coordinator. I've seen so many doctors plateau in growth because you're putting too much. Or I've been on plenty of phone calls where that person in the office is crying to me and I'm supposed to help them be successful, but the doctors put so much on their plate that they literally can't get it all done. And then they feel overwhelmed and stressed. And so understanding that, say 300 leads, one full-time treatment coordinator. And maybe some doctors are like, oh, that doesn't make sense. But you got to, just like Chelsea said, you got to follow up and follow up and follow up and follow up with these
Mhm.
people. Most sales, most closes occur in the follow up. And
Mhm.
if you're doing too little of that, you're just
Mhm.
missing out.
Mhm.
So that's important. But to go back to your question too, like those are, two of the most important things. And then the other one is weighing capacity, because that again is a killer. And so understanding how much can I take on, then getting to that point where you can then bring on that associate and have that associate take over your GP stuff and have you just double down and wean off. I mean, that's not everybody's goal. It's not everybody's
Mhm.
goal, but for the person that just wants to continue to grow and scale, a lot of doctors that I know talk to, they're like, if I could just do full arch all the time, that would be my dream. And I know a lot that do and get there. It is that process of, growing, 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 working really hard and being overwhelmed and stressed for a little bit. And then getting to the point where, okay, now you can bring on that associate and freeing yourself up to then continue to grow and scale. So appointment setters, the first, TC's the second one you got to look at, and then doctor capacity. as the third there.
Yeah, really, really interesting. How do you know when you're ready for a associate? What are we looking at in terms of indicators, KPIs, or anything that you would look at to know now is the time to take the leap on the associate?
That's a great question. I wish I had a more defined answer for you. I've seen different doctors jump there. Part of it's how much GP do you already have in your practice? How well established are you already? Do you already have another GP or a partner? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
There's a lot of nuance.
Hmm.
There's probably an operations person out there listening to that that's like, I know the best answer for that. And they would probably know that way better than I would.
Yeah, well, let's have them comment on the video if they've
If
got
they
a better
do,
answer
please
and promote
comment. I would
themselves.
actually love to hear that.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of doctors go through the process, but I haven't been involved. But I know that they've all been at different areas, and it can be a
Hmm.
scary, kind of daunting thing. But I want you guys to know it's possible. It happens all the time. And I think you'll kind of feel it because you'll see the revenue and what's
Hmm.
coming in. I think the number one thing is if you're looking at your profitability and do you have that in the profitability to afford to bring on that person?
Hmm.
Do you have enough work and then the profitability to bring that person on?
Hmm. Yeah, one thing I know from scaling business is one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my career, and it's been the most detrimental mistake, is hiring too late. You need to hire for where you're going and not for where you are. And that requires a leap of faith, and that requires a bit of risk and a bit of confidence, and it can make you feel pretty sick. But at the same time, nothing is worse than hiring too late. And it causes all sorts of issues that are systemic burnout with the team, mental health burnout for yourself, a bad customer service experience, a bad patient experience. So I do think there's an element here, and I don't know the operational numbers to look at. That's not my area of expertise, but I think there's a mindset element here where you've got to decide, are you doing this or not? And when you commit, you need to commit, right? And if the indicators point to you have a working system that's scalable and proven, and you know you can get these patients in and you know you can close them, you might be at that point just getting in the way of what could be if you opened up your schedule more and freed up your overall, just your whole practice for you to dedicate more time to this. Like you said, more time to the full arch team and more time in your schedule to doing surgery. So I don't know that it's ever going to be comfortable no matter what the numbers tell you on the paper. I think if the numbers tell you you're ready, it might even be a little too late sometimes. If I waited for my P&L to tell me I was ready to hire another account manager, we'd be in pretty bad position because the that's not really how business works, right? You don't hire reactively, or if you do, you're in soup, I say. We've kind of talked about this transition into being a full arch provider. One thing I think about is how do doctors, GPs, or even oral surgeons that haven't really focused on this as much, what are simple things they can do online to position themselves as a full arch authority? I think about starting with the website. They think everything looks fine. What does a patient actually need to see and feel from their website in order for them to be seen as a full arch authority and for the patient to trust them?
I love this question. So back in the day, checked a lot of websites, put a pixel on there and checked a lot of websites and visit. What I found was that the average dental website was converting traffic at around 1 to 3%. 2 to 3% probably most common. Meaning, when I say traffic, I mean like visitors to the website. So people were coming to the website, and out of every 100 unique visitors to the website, 2 to 3 people were either picking up the phone and calling in, or were filling out a form to request consult. So either a form fill or a phone call, they became a lead. 2 to 3. And you can go Google this. What's the average website's conversion rate? 1 to 4%. Really common, 2 to 3% conversions in there. And here's why. Most people that design a website, they can make it look pretty. There's a lot of places out there that will make a website pretty. The problem is they don't make it persuasive.
Mm.
And then the second thing is they're talking about facts. It's a brochure of what you do, you know, I do dental implants. I do this. I do that, but not which means, like this is life transforming. This is why, da 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 da. I had this really crazy thing that we did back in the day where we were tracking these websites and the conversion rate on them. And when we were marketing, when we were running ads for people, our landing pages were getting 12 to 20% conversion rates. And then the websites were getting 1, 2, 3% conversion. And so we took the forms off of the landing pages and we just stuck them on the website. And we instantly were getting 5 to 8+% conversion rates just with that.
Mm,
Then when we went back through and we overhauled the language and the images and the way it was designed to be more emotionally like, look at these people's lives who are transformed, look at these before and afters, listen to these videos. And we changed the page basically to be more like a landing page.
mhm,
We saw that we were getting 8, 12%, 15% conversion rates off of those pages. It just
mm,
blew it out of the water. Every time we improved it, like adding the form was one thing and then going up. And so you have to make it pretty, but you also have to make it persuasive. People typically don't buy because of facts, they buy because of emotion. They see what it is and they want that. You know, he's tall, dark, and handsome. They don't look at it and say, he does this for a living and da 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 da. That's what you use to justify the emotion.
mhm,
Well, he's tall, dark, and handsome and loves long walks on the beach. And he's does this, 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 and this, which are reasons why I can justify this famous
mhm,
story of my wife coming home with very expensive pants. Like, I'm like, I didn't even know they sold pants, like jeans that were that expensive. She was like, I bought this. I'm like, we don't have the budget for that. She's like, but Spence, look at this. She went through this whole thing where she put the pants on, looked in the mirror, and loved what she saw. And then she came home and she literally has elastic in it that like pulls your butt up and holds you in and just like all the stuff. What happened is that she was emotionally moved by it.
mhm,
She loved what she saw and she was emotionally moved. Then she justified everything using her logic.
mm.
So usually what happens is websites are full of logic, all the reasons, state of the art stuff, whatever, which means stuff which is more kind of gets into the emotional reasons. Oh, I want that. I want safety. I want security. I want to be out of pain. I want this. Most websites are really missing that kind of emotional stuff. And then the one final thing that I'll say on there is the call to action, actually asking somebody. So most websites up in the corner, you've got a phone number. So you can fill out a form to contact us. And then some of them might have a schedule an appointment. All of that is what I would call medium to high threshold offer. Most people, especially full arch patients who are nervous or afraid or who haven't been to a dentist in a long time, first off, if you're not inviting them to take action, and all you have is a phone number there, that's not really an invitation. So you want to actually ask them to do something. Then you want that medium to high threshold offer is akin to telling somebody to come home and meet the parents on the first date or let's get married on the first date. Most people need to be tiptoed into that relationship, which just logically makes sense when we talk about it, but we don't think about it when the website's being made because websites are made by web designers who are just making something look pretty. They're not being made by people like you and me who ran an agency who had to feed our families by getting somebody to land on this landing page and opt in and become a paying patient. So you learn how to walk somebody through building a relationship of trust, getting them to like and trust you. Usually that's through more micro steps. So offering a lower threshold offer, like fill out this form to get a pricing and information guide or fill out this form to find out if you're a candidate for dental implants. Those are forms where people are like, I'm willing to go that. Like, this is just a little date, nothing serious here. And then later we invite them into some people are ready for the consult. That's great. You should still have it on there and invite those people because if they're at that stage, you want them to take action. But you should also have calls to action that are lower threshold, and most websites don't have that.
Also,
So
informational and educational video can be valuable on the website. It gives people something to, learn from and do if they're not quite ready for a consult that's valuable to you because it's relationship building.
all that brand authority stuff that we talked about, your unique value proposition, that should be woven through there. Your social proof, video testimonials, before and afters, smile reels, all of that good stuff should go on there. You can even put how many Google reviews or stars you have. All your educational content too should be woven in there. And then I would say, like we were talking about websites, but the same thing into your social media posts. Let me just make one comment on that. Everything we just said, copy and paste that into your social, into all your different social channels, right? Now, posting on social media, here's a big trap. There's agencies out there that are going to have you pay just to post. Like, I'm just going to post on there. And it's usually, don't forget to brush your teeth. Happy dental week or month or whatever. It's stuff that people don't care about. They'll never engage with. And if people aren't engaging with your content, then your content's not going to show up in other people's feeds. the way that you get the algorithm to work in your favor is to post content that people actually like and that they're going to engage with. And the number one thing that I have found, if you're a dentist, the number one thing that you can do to really take advantage of like social media is to post transformational dentistry, implants, cosmetic, even teeth whitening. That's before and after type stuff. That's the kind of stuff that people will engage with. They'll binge because they want to see all these stories and want to see all these pictures. And that's the stuff they'll engage with. If they're engaging with it, then they're more likely to see more of that from you, or other people are more likely to see it as well. And it will show up a lot more. So that's my social media. But all the same stuff, your unique value proposition, your social proof before and afters, video testimonials, and educational content, post that there and people will eat that stuff up.
Yeah, I almost feel like the theme of today has been to show, not tell. I think there's been a common theme of us basically saying, look, the way to differentiate yourself, even in the most competitive markets, is to show and not tell. Instead of saying patients love us, show us reviews or patients are raving about you. Instead of saying we care about patients, show us a warranty. Instead of saying we make beautiful teeth or we create beautiful smiles, show beautiful smiles. I mean, show a lot of them and show every case. And the best time to start taking pictures and documenting your work is today. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you didn't do it before. Just go out and get a ring light on Amazon, get a camera and get out there because we do need to show, not just tell. It's not believable enough. Now, we're gonna have to have you back because I didn't even get through half my questions. I have so much to ask you. A couple things I wanna wrap up with. Folks that come to us have already tried 2 or 3 different agencies. So many of them have tried 2 or 3 different agencies. If we wanna save, either they've already done that or we wanna save doctors the trauma of wasted money with the wrong full arch provider, and it is a trauma, and I won't downplay that because it is. I mean, we're business owners, we've gotta provide for our families. It's a trauma to waste money with the wrong provider. Every marketing company in the full arch space or otherwise is gonna tell them results, ROI, they can do this and everything. How does a doctor actually know how to pick the right full arch marketing company? What's a good checklist for them to work through?
For one, a lot of the stuff that we just talked about today, when you sign up, they're just like, oh, welcome on board. We'll get ads going. And then they spin up ads. Usually what they're doing is using generic ads that they use with everybody. And it's just the same. It's some kind of basic template that they roll out for everybody, which don't get me wrong. It's fine to have a proven template, but when there's no differentiation in any of the ads, they're not focused. That's one of the things, Chelsea, that I've just loved about you guys is you make such an emphasis on not just throwing it together, but the quality too of the ad of like you really hold dentists' feet to the fire to get really high quality content recorded of patients and them because that's going to make a better quality ad. It actually attracts better quality patients and produces better results for them. So yeah, definitely that's one of them. And when they come on, is it like, are they talking about unique value proposition? Are they talking about how do I differentiate? Why should somebody choose you over anybody else? Because again, frequently it's just, okay, we'll just spin up some ads and go. As opposed to, we need to build your authority in the marketplace. And what is it? What is your authority? Let's help pull that out and help craft that. So that's a really important one there. And another one that I see a lot with agencies is a doctor comes in, full arch marketing, it's intense and you're going to put some budget into it to get patients out. And if somebody comes in, they're like, oh yeah, I'll run full arch ads for you. And just give me a budget of $2,000, $2,500. Those people are just taking your money. You're not going to hit your goals. So somebody who's really going to come in and be honest with you about what it takes and recommending based off of your goals. What is your goal? Then here's the appropriate budget that you need to put into that and be realistic with you and not just get you signed up so they can make a quick buck off of you. These are true partners that are going to really help you put the systems and processes in place and appropriate budgets and everything so that you can truly be successful. I could go on. If they do websites, look at their websites.
Mhm.
Do they have low threshold offers on there? If they do, sometimes they just stick them at the bottom of the page. The truth is that most people don't scroll to the bottom of the page. Is that lower threshold offer towards the top of the page? Look at that kind of stuff. Do they have the emotional stuff built into the website? Are they helping you? So those are all things that you can kind of look at and see, do these people really know what they're doing or not? Because this is it. This is how you win in full arch. And you need an agency who understands that kind of stuff. Also, some of these agencies just do meta and you're missing out because there's Google's full of patients that we would say have higher buyer intent. Somebody's Googling, like that's a way better lead. So you want both. There's opportunity in both multi-channel marketing, you want an agency who understands all of that and can tackle all of that for you.
Yeah, I always say the most expensive marketing is, cheap marketing. The most expensive is the cheap marketing agency because
Mhm.
even with these, big offers and guarantees, they're not, covering your ad spend, and your ad spend is generally a bulk of the cost, so it gets really expensive when you work with the wrong partner. So, yeah, that's a good starting place. Yeah, go ahead.
I got one more to add in there. They don't expect you to be the person who's going to create your ads and design it all yourself. An agency that actually is like, you need high quality content, but I have a tool.
Mm,
You guys have your video team that can come out and actually create it. Like you know what to do. You know what makes a better quality ad, and you are providing the team who can actually come out and create that. I mean, not that they have to, but you're going to guide them. Or even if they're using their own, you'll still guide them to know the expert stuff. But some agencies I know are like, there's no support in creating the creative. There's no, well, I've got a videographer, let me send them out. Or here's your how to guide of how to get that. And a lot of it's just like, first off, usually they don't do anything. It's just they're running their generic ad, or they're like, yeah, you can go out and record something. And then there's no guidance, there's no feedback. That just tells me this agency is not dialed in. It doesn't understand the true depth, like what these patients really care, what it really takes her to be ultra successful. So find an agency that that supports you in that as well.
yeah. So, Spencer, a few things just to close up here. You tell folks about what you do. Give a high level of what it looks like to work with you, in the first 90 days or the first 6 months, and then tell them where they can find you.
Yeah. Okay. When I left the agency, I was like, our clients coming and we're hopping from my agency. They'd go to another, they'd come back, hoping that they'd get these magical leads that would all just convert, and then they weren't all converting. And so it comes down to a lot of these systems and processes and what's happening inside the practice and the brand and all that kind of stuff. And so most full arch doctors I know either aren't hitting their goals consistently or have plateaued and are having a hard time getting past that. So I left because I wanted to take this framework and reach out and help more doctors put this in place, because you put this in place and all of a sudden you can start to scale. And what's funny is like with the framework, you can take a mediocre marketing agency and do okay.
Mhm.
You can take a fantastic, excellent marketing agency and you can dominate. I just wanted to put that out there. So what I do now is I coach and consult people.
Yeah, you really are one of the most helpful people that I've, ever encountered in my years of business, not just in the full arch industry, but just business, very selfless and helpful. So, that was wonderful. I'm sure everyone who's listening to this agrees that you are, an absolute fountain of knowledge. So thank you so much. We only got through a fraction of my questions because there is so much to talk about. And I'm looking forward to having you back for part two.